Hello, I am your teacher, Mr. Pacitti, and this is my classroom here in Detroit, Michigan. So put away your mobile phones, put away your New Year's resolutions. It's time to concentrate, it's time to study. This is a double bill of Raw and SmackDown Live, graded. So despite the fact that it is now Wednesday, we are kicking things off with Raw because I was very hungover yesterday, and we're kicking things off with a bloody steel cage match, Dolph Ziggler versus Drew McIntyre. So before we get to the match itself, big fan of matches opening up wrestling shows. Never really understood the insistence on a 20-minute opening promo every single week. Like, if you're tuning into wrestling for the first time, you've never seen it before, you're probably going to be tuning in at the top of the program. Why not do something super attention-grabbing? And this week, they did just that. It's a new WWE! Let's get excited! More of this, please. So, just a terrific match. Both guys looking really strong here, but especially Drew, who picks up the win. And although that's a predictable result, it's also the right result. Drew is a guy who has everything it takes, not just to be main eventing pay-per-views, but could quite literally be the face of the company in the future, especially in Roman's absence. He's just that good. He is the total package. There was a fantastic superplex to Dolph while he was on top of the cage. Drew just slinging Dolph into the side of the cage was also wonderful, and some brilliant trash talking from Drew during the match. He always does it, but it always also makes the match feel more special, more genuine because of it. He picks up the win with the Claymore kick. After the match, Drew unloads on Dolph, setting up a chair next to Dolph's head and then hitting him with a running dropkick. It's something that looks so much cooler than what we usually see, which is repeated chair shots to the back. It was so much cooler than that, but also still safe. And then he cuts a promo. He's entering the Royal Rumble. He's going to win it. And then he goes back to Dolph, who has just managed to get back almost to his feet, and hits him with a Claymore once again. Fantastic stuff. Drew, an unbelievable heel. I'm giving this one an A because it was good in so many ways. So a lovely ending to Dolph and Drew's feud, which has certainly run its course by this point. Hopefully both guys go on to bigger and better things, but especially Drew, and looking at the booking on Monday night, this certainly seems to be the case. The match was super intense from start to finish, and even in defeat, Dolph Ziggler manages to look somewhat strong. He managed to get up to his feet before being taken out by the Claymore kick in that post-match attack, and hopefully this is an indication, because the fact it wasn't just a loss, this did do something for Dolph's character. Hopefully this is an indication that creative do have something for him, because Dolph is a guy who's had just such a hard time since his arrival in WWE. He's a guy who's never been utilized properly. And then Drew McIntyre, looking like the absolute badass, nasty heel that he is in that post-match attack, and his promo, and just his style of offense during the match. He's such a badass. A badass. I sound cool saying that. Next up, out comes Seth Rollins to a huge pop, and he wants to get this party started right now because he's got a rematch for the IC title against Dean Ambrose. Burn it down! Burn it down! Yeah! Etc. But it's not Ambrose's music that hits. Instead, out comes Big Paulie H, who says that nothing is going to be handed to anyone anymore. No automatic anything. No automatic rematches. I love this already. Automatic rematches never made any sense. They encourage the laziest of writing, and they make post-pay-per-view Raw and SmackDowns just so predictable. So this is brilliant. This is a step in the right direction. I like you, new WWE. Triple H says that what he sees is a shell of the former Rollins, and Rollins says no. Rollins has been carrying Raw on his back. He's had classics with the likes of Finn Balor, Dolph Ziggler, Mojo Rawley. Bloody love this. First ever A+ incoming. Trips ends up setting up a match for later in the night so that Seth can prove himself like he needs to. Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley, and Seth says that he will take out anyone who gets in his way, whether it be Brock Lesnar or whether it be Triple H and his entire family. Ooh. Then out comes Shane McMahon, because of course he does, and he sets up the Fresh Start Battle Royal. What makes it different from a regular Battle Royal? Well, I guess first of all, the winner gets a shot at the IC title, but also it's fresh. Fresh. It's a Fresh Start Battle Royal. Get that branding in. Fresh. Sponsored by FemFresh. Fresh Start Battle Royal. Fresh. IC title shot. Shane McMahon. Thanks. So before we get to the fresh start battle royal, I'm going to give this promo an A-. I thought it was really strong. Jack picked a bad week to go to Japan. What am I on about? He, right now, is probably eating sushi and hanging out with the Bullet Club. I'm in Newcastle, dressed as a pervert teacher. So on paper, this promo might not sound like anything special, but I actually think it achieved a lot. Seth Rollins has positioned himself as a possible face of the company, a position that he, I think, well and truly deserves. He also teases a match with Brock Lesnar, something that I think we would all absolutely love to see. Perhaps it'd even be the one to finally conquer the beast. And it was all delivered with sincerity and conviction, just beautiful stuff, and it didn't kick off Raw. It was after a match, which is even better. A-. So on to the fresh start battle royal. Not too much to report here, a fairly standard battle royal, fresh though it may be. Good to see my boy Mojo Rawley in there, and also especially good to see Zack Ryder in there. You made it onto Raw in 2018, Zack. Well done. Hopefully we'll see you next year in All Elite Wrestling. Apollo Crews, of all people, manages to eliminate 8 superstars from the Battle Royal and then go on to win the whole bloody thing. An unpredictable result, and one that I can't quite work out if I like. I'm all for Apollo getting a push. The guy from an in-ring standpoint is unbelievably talented. Go back and watch his work as Uhaa Nation on the Indies. He's so good. And although he's a little bit lacking in charisma, all he seems to be able to do is smile in the WWE. Are we supposed to think that he just got really good out of nowhere? Like, are we supposed to forget that he's been booked really poorly for several years and then he gets in a battle royal and he absolutely dominates? Like, what's changed? Oh, and it also worries me a little bit that if he's going to be pushed like crazy, as it appeared from this match, then he's going to be pushed at the expense of guys who were also in the match, like Finn Balor, Zack Ryder, guys that we've wanted to see pushed for an awful long time, and I don't think that'll work in Apollo's favour in the long term in the eyes of the fans. Overall, this match was meh. It was a battle royal. They're never that good, are they? They can be memorable and fun, but they're never that good. I'm going to give this one a C+. Apollo Crews, 8 men. Whew. And before I move on, a nice bit of build for Curt Hawkins. He lasted to the final few before being eliminated by Baron Corbin, and the crowd super behind him. Can't wait to see him win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania and then never be seen again. Speaking of Baron Corbin, we then are treated to a Baron Corbin promo. He's saying how difficult his job as GM was, but he's quickly interrupted by Elias. Elias makes fun of Corbin in song, of course, and then they brawl into the crowd, and then Baron Corbin just runs away. So this doesn't sound especially memorable, and I guess it wasn't, but I actually quite like this. Elias turned face a fair few weeks ago now by hitting Baron Corbin in the back with his guitar, and that was never really followed up upon, so I'm excited to see that there's a feud evolving there. It could be an interesting mid-card feud. It might not be. Let's give it time, but for Raw on Monday night, I enjoyed this segment. I'm going to give it a B-. Next up, it's time for a 6-woman tag team match. The team of Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Ember Moon taking on the Riott Squad, and this was okay. In the early stages, the heels concentrate on beating down Ember Moon, not letting her tag anyone in, and she finally does. We get some decent back and forth action, and the Riott Squad double teaming at various points as they do, and then losing as they do. This was weird because commentary had spent the whole match really bigging up the Riott Squad as a force to be reckoned with, even going so far as to saying that they might head to WrestleMania with all of the gold. And then they just lose to this throwaway team of Sasha, Bayley, and Ember Moon. And I hate it when that happens, these established teams. And the Riott Squad are a team who really do feel like a unit. They're on the same page and they have been from the start. And then, yeah, they just get beaten. And it just feels as if those bigwigs in Stamford, Connecticut have never wanted to pull the trigger on the Riott Squad, despite the fact that they're really fun to watch and they're great heels. And as I say, they feel like a team. And I don't know, it's just frustrating. I'm going to give this match a B-. The match itself was good, but these losses, they're really starting to hurt the Riott Squad's credibility. Next up, it's time for that match made by Triple H earlier in the night. Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley for the Seth Rollins Has to Prove Himself Championship, and this was really good, a strong match. I really love Lio Rush, his role both during the match and as Bobby Lashley's hype man in general. I think he's so good in that role, and yeah, I'm going to give this one a B+. Lashley hits all of his power moves. He's tossing Seth around like, what do you toss? A cock. Lio Rush being a pesky little bastard on the outside. He's playing cat and mouse with Rollins, chasing him and ducking and diving. And then when Rollins finally catches him, he's quickly attacked by Bobby Lashley. And then Seth just goes bozo and attacks Bobby Lashley with the chair, causing the DQ. And then after the match, he goes mad on Lashley again with the chair and then hits the curb stomp on Lio Rush. Not on the chair, not on the chair, not allowed to do that. But this was brilliant, intense, mental Seth. Something to prove. Loved it. So yeah, as I say, the match was good and gets a B+, but the more important thing here is they finally addressed the problem with Seth's character. For a long time, Seth has been great in the ring and then just good on the mic because he's never really had a defined character to draw from. And this more pissed off, more unpredictable Seth Rollins is the babyface that Seth Rollins needs to be. This is such a step in the right direction. I love it. I can't wait to see where it goes. The fact that it was a DQ finish doesn't matter. Not at all, because this was such great character advancement for Seth Rollins. Thumbs up from me. Next up was a 3-on-2 handicap match. The Singh brothers and Jinder Mahal versus Heath, Slater and Rhyno, and this was a bit crap. Jinder picks up the win for his team after a ref distraction from one of the Singh brothers, which makes no sense because they already had the numbers advantage. It was already 3-on-2. Why was that needed? And that's about it. I'm going to give it a D+. Difficult to find anything especially positive about this one. It wasn't entertaining at all. Need to say something else about it. Rhyno has a cube for a body. Next up, it's the 8-man eliminating. Big old smiling, jet flying, limousine riding. It's Apollo Crews. I'm not sure where I was going with that. Taking on Bane for the Intercontinental title after winning that fresh start battle royal earlier in the night. The match was fine, but did drag a bit, especially in the early stages. When it did pick up, Apollo was on fire, but it just felt like it was too late. And yeah, this one dragged. This one dragged. It gets a C+ from me. It's weird, since Ambrose's return, something just hasn't clicked. He hasn't found that momentum he needed. His match against Seth Rollins at TLC, despite weird card placement, could have been match of the night. Those two talent involved, and there was a real story going into it, and it just wasn't. Dean is somebody who needs some serious character adjustment for sure. It's not working at this point, but more importantly, he doesn't need relatively thrown together matches, I guess, or he doesn't need matches without a storyline. What he needs is a feud, he needs that character adjustment, and he needs a feud to show that character adjustment off. So this was fine, but man, I was so excited for Dean's return. We all were. It's not working, something's not working, and I hope it changes soon. Tag team action now, main event time, the team of Ronda Rousey and her mentor Natalya taking on Nia Jax, the face breaker, hashtag face breaker, and Miss Charisma herself, Tamina Snuka. Not Snooker, they don't say Snooker anymore, Tamina. So Rousey and Natalya are super pissed off in this one after the heels attacked Natalya earlier in the night, and Rousey going for armbar after armbar to try and end things early, as she does. The heels trap Natty in the ring, beating her down, setting up the hot tag for Ronda Rousey. When she gets that hot tag, she comes in, she knees Nia Jax in the face with a really convincing looking knee that sticks out in my memory. And long story short, armbar, Tamina Snuka, Tamina taps out. A predictable finish. An underwhelming end to the night, I guess, in some ways, but it was good, it was fine, it was a decent enough match. It gets a B- from me. This week's Raw gets a B. It may feel like I've glossed over the second half of the show, but quite simply that's because there was far more to talk about in the first half, and I think the first half was significantly more fun. You had that great Rollins promo with Triple H, you had the opening cage match, which I thought was fantastic, and then there were things that just let the show down and brought the overall grade down, like the 3-on-2 handicap match, and even Dean Ambrose versus Apollo Crews, which should have been better than it was. I think Raw is improving, but it's going to be interesting to see in the coming weeks and months whether they address the real issues with Raw, and that's the quality of the writing and the lack of continuity. It's all well and good just pushing a few guys, making these quick tokenistic changes, but we'll see. Time will tell. Let's move on to SmackDown. So out come the New Day. Big E is dressed like a baby. obviously. They do some Steiner math, which was very funny. They take the piss out of Brock Lesnar for never turning up, which was very funny. And then they announce that they will all be in the Royal Rumble match. Job done, a funny promo. They don't outstay their welcome. They quickly introduce the first match of the night, Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe. So I enjoyed this match a lot. Jeff using his speed advantage, Joe using his power advantage. They told a sensible story in the ring. The finish was especially good, I thought. Samoa Joe gets hit with a Swanton Bomb, but immediately, just like last week, rolls out, and then Jeff follows him to the outside. Jeff is locked into the Coquina clutch, and then Joe releases him at about 7. It looked like there was going to be a double count out. There's not. Joe gets back in the ring, instructs the referee to start counting. He does so. Jeff just about manages to get in the nick of time, but is immediately locked in the Coquina clutch again and passes out. Samoa Joe picking up the win. I like this, and I'm going to give it a B-. The finish especially, as I say, I thought was great. Samoa Joe using his intelligence to win the match. He's not just a thug, he's a smart thug, and that's far more dangerous. The New Day before the match were strong, and they did their job effectively, and then put all of the focus on the match itself. A great way to kick off SmackDown. Next up, it's time to hear from the new United States Champion, Rusev, who is here to celebrate his win last week on SmackDown, beating Shinsuke Nakamura. He grabs a mic, he says how proud he is to be the United States Champion. He says how wonderful his beard is, how lovely he smells, and then he is attacked by the man that dropped the title to him last week on SmackDown, Shinsuke Nakamura. Horrible. So while Shinsuke Nakamura is attacking Rusev, Lana jumps on his back to try to stop him, and then Rusev hits the Machka kick, and because Lana is on Shinsuke's back, he falls back on top of Lana, and then Rusev's all pissed off like, because Lana's just had to take a back bump, and he's tending to Lana, and then Nakamura, Kinshasa, and then he walks away like the horrible man that he is. Nasty. Gonna give this one a B- too. I always enjoy Rusev on the mic, obviously. It wasn't a lengthy promo by any means. It was just there to set up for Nakamura's attack, which I thought worked really effectively. Nakamura being painted as the evil heel that he should be. And it also set up a rematch for a grander stage without the need for a rematch clause. It's like we didn't need the rematch clause ever, right? Yeah. Next up, it's time for Mandy Rose versus Naomi after Mandy Rose tried to be all dirty with Jimmy Uso, Naomi's husband, on last week's SmackDown, except it's not Mandy Rose versus Naomi, it's Sonya Deville versus Naomi, because Mandy Rose is wearing an Usos t-shirt. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I don't get why Sonya's in the match now. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Naomi versus Sonya. So the match didn't really ever get going. During the match, Mandy Rose reveals on the Titantron that she has been sending dirty pictures to Jimmy Uso, but not any dirty pictures, professionally shot, studio shot dirty pictures, which is so much worse. This distraction allows for Sonya Deville to pick up the win, defeating Naomi in a match. This is almost too short to grade. It wasn't really a match at all. It was just a segment with a little bit of wrestling in it. I'm gonna give it a C-, I guess. The story is cheap and it's overplayed, but at least it's in fitting with Mandy Rose's character. Let's move on. Rappledo! It's only time for John Cena on SmackDown with his biceps and his sweatbands and his bald spot, and I bloody love John Cena. Nice to see John Cena on the blue brand. Cena talks about what a year he's had, facing The Undertaker at WrestleMania after a few bevies, writing a children's book, having JBL's hair, and then he says he's had his ups and downs, but why is he here? Ups and downs. Why is he? Then out comes the man, Becky Lynch, who makes it clear that she is the one that has stepped into John Cena's shoes. It's her show now, and if he's got a problem with that, Nikki Bella won't be the only woman to drop John Cena this year. Ouch. Then out comes Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega. Zelina says that Becky Lynch, your face is still messed up and this is going to be the year of Tranquilo. And basically, Becky and John got all the good lines in this promo. This sets up a mixed tag match for right now. Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega taking on the man and John Cena. Ring the bell. So the match was alright, just a standard mixed tag match, I guess, but this was all about the finish for me. So John Cena's in the ring, he's hitting his finishes, including the lightning fist, which I love, and if you don't love it, you're being trolled. And then Becky Lynch tosses John Cena out of the ring because she doesn't need him locks in the disarmer, and picks up the win for her team, but I guess more importantly, for the man. I'm going to give this one a B+. The match itself is only really deserving from an in-ring standpoint of a C, maybe a C+, at a push. But this is less about the majority of the match and more about what happened before the match and the finish to the match itself. So Becky got to work with John Cena, which is cool in itself and unexpected. But also this speaks volumes about Becky's position in the WWE. She is not going to be overshadowed by anyone, no matter who you are. She is the focal point of the show. And this was backed up in the match itself when she threw John Cena out of that ring because she wanted the victory for Becky Lynch. Just a really, really cool moment. And then after the match, John Cena goes for the handshake. Becky Lynch does that, walks up the ramp. She doesn't need respect. She's cool. She's so cool. She's not a babyface. She's certainly not a heel. She's not even really a tweener. She's just the man. Main event time, it is that fatal 5-way match where the winner will face WWE Champion Daniel Bryan for the strap at the Royal Rumble. It's Mustafa Ali versus Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton versus Samoa Joe versus the former champion AJ Styles. And just those names, you got 4 in-ring vets and Mustafa Ali, who is fantastic. You know it's going to be good. There's almost too much to talk about in this one. Every man comes out looking great regardless of who the winner is, especially the recently called up Mustafa Ali, who did a tremendous job last night. For the most part, this was just a series of really cool spots where 2 men would be in the ring, something cool would happen, a wicked gnarly move, and then one man would roll out, another man would roll in, and something else cool would happen. But it was more than that. I guess I'll talk about my favorite moments from the match. So Joe hitting the Uranagi on AJ Styles through the commentary table and then back in the ring, and there's this great sequence between Rey Mysterio and Mustafa Ali. More of that, please. And then the finish. Everybody's hitting their finishers. Finisher spam galore. AJ Styles is the last man to hit his. He hits the phenomenal forearm, makes the cover, 1, 2, 3. AJ Styles wins and will face Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble for the WWE title. But the man he pinned wasn't Mustafa Ali. Wasn't who you thought it may be, because that would have been the easy choice. It was Randy Orton, and that's a touch that I really liked. This match gets an A-. I loved it, just so exciting from start to finish. It never let up, it was frantic, it was fast-paced, and just so fun to watch. A lot of people aren't too happy about seeing AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan again, but I can't wait. I loved their match at TLC. I thought it was brilliant and one of the most underrated matches in recent memory. People are going to forget about that one quickly, especially if the Royal Rumble match tops it. But I just thought it was brilliant, and I think the Royal Rumble match will top it. They're going to go all out, and I can't wait. AJ Styles has a habit of doing great things at Rumbles. Overall, SmackDown gets a B+. Once again, everything makes sense. The main event was the bollocks. Becky Lynch is the bollocks. The only thing that was bollocks, I guess, is Mandy Rose versus Naomi. But hey, at least that was short. I hope you had a wonderful new year, whatever you chose to do. Personally, I stayed up and I watched the TV. I watched the celebrations live from Times Square, which I thought it was disappointing this year. It didn't live up to previous years. I thought they really dropped the ball on this one. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and you can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.